Hello.
Hello, boys and
girls. Come sit with your Uncle Gray. Got some candy for you.
Got a couple of nice things on sale, stranger.
Opens the jacket. Okay. Hello, listeners. Welcome to the Dying Alone podcast. I'm Gray Carter, and with me are Corey Rydell.
Hello.
Gavin Dunn.
Hello.
And Gabe.
Hello.
All right, today's topic we are talking about...
Do you still not know Gabe's surname?
Isn't it?
Oh,
No, I've released it to the... I can delete that if you want.
yeah, that would be great.
He actually messaged me and asked me not to share his last name.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
My second
Sorry,
name is
The concubine.
yeah.
Just all one word.
His second name
that
is...
laugh is even
his
more pedo than mine.
His second name is McCarthy Bigaro O'Malley.
Yeah. Oh, shut up. McGillicuddy.
McGillicuddy.
Oh, McGillicuddy. There
that
we
actually
go.
is... That actually is a real name, McGillicuddy.
Oh, no, I know, yeah.
There's isn't there a mountain range named after someone called McGillicuddy?
Well, it's in Cork, so you should probably know that, yeah.
Yes, there is.
It's fascinating island talk.
Oh,
now.
so interesting.
I honestly hesitate to interrupt it.
Oh, it's
Okay,
so much
so-
Ireland talk today.
Today's topic is art design and soundtracks. We decided to take a positive note because whenever we try to do a gripe-heavy podcast, it turns out really positive, and whenever we decide to do something positive, we sit and complain for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
So I'll get the ball rolling by just getting it out of the fucking way nice and early by saying just Metal Gear, all of them, soundtracks.
Yep. That's it.
Listen.
Done.
There we go, we're done.
Yep.
Now
Now we can move on.
we
Well
just move
done,
on.
guys. I'm glad that we have figured this out. They're good games.
See you next week, folks.
I could go into much more detail than that, but I'm not gonna for the sake of these two.
We can
could.
talk about
Well,
stuff.
no, you can...
Yeah.
We
can
can
I'll
talk
say
about
do
Revengeance, I think,
Yeah,
which we
Revengeance
all
had
have
really good
some experience with.
definitely.
And it's also markedly different from the rest of the Metal Gear games.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can listen to those, and they sound kind of like the same thing, but filtered through different eras, whereas Revengeance is very much its own creature.
Yeah, definitely.
The music in that game was one of the few things I really, really did love, actually.
Yeah.
It was
it's-
really, really
I think
good.
anyone who's into metal-y stuff can get behind that.
It's the kind
Art-wise,
of metal
I thought it
that
was
these
But the way
days-
it dynamically moved with how far you got into the fight as well was very clever.
Yeah.
Oh, it's fantastically done.
One of my
music, yeah.
favorite parts was in the last boss that the track just started at full intensity because it was just like, yeah, this is it, it's over. And there was no change in the track at all. It was just full on for the entire fight.
God, that was a good boss fight.
It was. But we're not
Which
here to
you'd
talk
know
about
if you'd
that.
seen it, Gav.
There's
Which
some
boss
other
fight? The
good
final one?
boss fights.
Yeah.
Senator.
I
Super
have
Saiyan-
seen it.
Super
I
Saiyan.
watched it on YouTube.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
I
moving
watched it
on,
on YouTube.
because we will. I mean, we said we were going to get it out of the way, and then we talked about it anyway.
Yeah.
We acknowledged it. All right. Moving
Oh,
on.
yeah.
I think the most obvious.
Okay, well I've got a pretty obvious one, which would be Deus Ex Human Revolution.
Oh, okay.
Aesthetics
Elder
or
Scrolls, well.
soundtrack? I thought both were pretty good.
Both in Deus Ex Human Revolution.
Yeah,
What I
remember,
really liked. Oh, go ahead, Gib.
I remember the biggest thing for me was the piss filter is the most infamous part of the game, and I played it on a shitty 4x3 portable TV the first time, and when I played it without the piss filter on a proper on a PC in 1080p 60 FPS everything, it felt way less unique and less interesting.
I love the gold filter.
It was a very
Yeah.
effective.
I thought it was
use of the
amazing.
filter.
Yeah.
It just adds a tint to the entire world so that it fits the world and fits the lighting very well. And it's kind of necessary, or else you get really bland visuals. It
It's
is
also-
obviously there for a reason.
It's a poster child for games that are technically ugly. Human Revolution on a technical level is not a very nice game to look at.
No.
The character models are chunky, the world's very static and dead, but the actual design work and combined with the filter just give it such a unique Renaissance-y kind of look.
And the music really helped with that as well. That mix of like you said, Renaissance-y almost choir stuff, and then the very subtle electronica as well.
It was
almost
also
Vangelis-esque.
It was its own thing, but it also managed to hark back to the Deus Ex soundtrack.
Yeah.
Which is a very difficult thing to do, I think, without just reusing chunks of the soundtrack.
Yeah. There's that magic moment in the beginning after you do your little walking tour. You get up to David Sarif, isn't that the boss's name?
Sarif,
you get up to his office, and the theme from the first game starts playing very subtly into the soundtrack, and I thought that was really, really clever.
Yeah.
And it gives you one of those cool little nostalgia moments.
His office was a marvel too.
Wasn't it? Yeah.
The problem with Human Revolution from a visual standpoint is that a lot of it was bland, and all of the detail was centered around very tight areas.
Yeah.
Like, there's a wonderful contrast between Sarif's office and the white office of someone else who I'm not going to name for spoiler reasons, who you come across later. And there's a beautiful contrast there.
Yeah, yeah.
In terms of design.
There was have you ever looked at the ceilings in that game? There was like a thread on Reddit before. Basically, someone took pictures of all the ceilings in the game, and it's amazing how much thought they put into the detail on the ceilings. It's all this crazy modern art style. Like every ceiling in the game looks incredible.
I literally didn't look up once.
Yeah. I think they kind of like put that stuff in for the sort of people who played the original Deus Ex, who would like look everywhere for everything. Like that's the people who were that kind of player, but I'm just not, because I didn't. So I appreciate.
Well, they say, don't they, that players don't generally look up at all. You have to guide their eye up if you want them to. But yeah, that game was, to me, like fucking hell. And as you said, Gray, it's not technically a very good looking game. The character models are kind of ugly and the animations are bad. And
the facial animations are so terrible. The fucking
the black lady, the
good.
Controversial black lady, is like one of the most embarrassing moments in of last gen. Just in terms of how it was presented.
Yeah.
And obviously the tone was really bad. But actually, if you look at her face, she's got like the facial characteristics of like a 20-year-old model. And she talks like a 50-year-old, like, doing an impression of a jive comedian.
Didn't they have to do something like that? Or no, sorry, that wasn't for RE5. They had to change the character models. We talked about this before, didn't we?
I don't think we did. They changed character models.
I don't. I heard this like from a friend, so it's probably not entirely true, but it is weird that like there's some character models in like the opening of the game when you're just walking around before you get your guns that they look like Mexican, but they have like some like African features. It's really strange. It looks like they changed the models to be a little less racist at the start of the game. But
maybe they just added in some white people after the reaction to the trailer.
Yeah, which doesn't really help. When you still got people
give those
who are,
African
like, black as fuck. Yeah.
Yeah.
To be brutally
make
honest,
their
that
skin
actually
white.
made it worse. They introduced a very obvious white woman being chased by like evil black guy.
Oh, I remember that.
And it just came off as very,
Yeah,
very
that was awkward.
Like worse than anything that was in the
awkward.
trailer. So it was quite strange in that regard.
I was like, we got to go save the white woman now. Oh no.
But I thought it was actually not a technically gorgeous game, but those early levels were
Resi 5.
very atmospheric and very well designed.
The player models, especially.
Yeah,
still
actually,
look
it's
fantastic.
a good series for this episode, actually, because most of the Resident Evil games have wonderful atmospheres.
Yeah.
Like the forest at the beginning of 4, that whole chapter was incredible, and the village.
Oh, fantastic use of light in the forest. Shame it didn't come over to the PC version.
Yeah.
And obviously,
I like the PC
what
version.
I find interesting about Resident Evil is the art design survived very big art shifts. Like you had the first game on the PS1, which was, I mean, for its time, gorgeous and very atmospheric. And then the remake was, equally good, but updated, with a 10-year update.
Yeah.
And then it even looked really good in the first-person shoot 'em up things they did on the Wii.
I don't know. I haven't actually played any of the Resident Evil spin-offs. I've just played the most recent mainline games, I guess. 4, 5, and 6.
They're okay. They're not great. It's nice to look at areas, like iconic areas from a 3D perspective.
Yeah.
So I think we can't really do this episode without mentioning Elder Scrolls, can we? I mean, it's pretty much, for many people, the pinnacle of atmospheric games.
Yeah.
I would say it's
I know
alright.
Gray doesn't really agree, but
I would honestly I would say Oblivion is fucking hideous, both on a technical and art design level. Morrowind was an ugly game, but the art design was much, much better.
The design in Morrowind is actually some of my favorite. Like everywhere you go feels so like it feels so real because like
an alien, very alien.
Well, you have like these areas that are colonized by like I don't know, Bretons or whoever the real humans are in that game. They're clear like human areas and like elven areas, and like there's a really weird split with them. And yeah, I just thought like everything felt very, very different and unique, design wise.
There was a YouTube video discussing that where he talks about the inspiration for the art design for Skyrim, Oblivion, and Morrowind, and how Skyrim and Oblivion are clearly pulling from like one source.
I
Like,
think
Oblivion
Skyrim and
kinda
Oblivion
takes
are quite different in terms of.
Yeah, but
They are,
each
yeah.
of them are only pulling from one source.
Skyrim-
Like, Oblivion has a very Roman
Skyrim
look,
is much more.
and Skyrim has a very Viking look.
Yeah.
Whereas Morrowind
it's
is like
more
all
Nordic
over the
and-
place, pulling from like dozens of different sources.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Morrowind
there's-
definitely.
But
Alien is the
Oblivion,
best way to put Morrowind.
Oblivion as well. Oblivion is very kind of nice and clean, and the towns were kind of bustly. But in Skyrim, everything's very ancient and falling apart and kind of ruined. And actually, I sometimes wonder, did making Fallout 3 have a huge influence subconsciously on the guys who designed Skyrim? Because Skyrim was so much more grim than Oblivion
is
in its
true.
atmosphere.
Oblivion is just kind of a cheerful
I'm like-
fantasy world, and I'm fine with that. But yeah, like even
Even
the
though there's
Shivering
some
Isles,
seriously dark shit in Oblivion as well, though.
yeah. But even in the Shivering Isles, that was generally pretty cheerful, no matter where you went. Like,
I
Yeah,
think the Shivering Isles was the highlight of the design for the game.
oh, by far, the Shivering
'Cause it
Isles is like the
pulled-
highlight
yeah,
of
Morrowind.
all of Oblivion.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Possibly the best moment in the entire series, actually, the Shivering Isles, arguably.
I really liked I know it's kind of a contentious issue, but I really liked the UI in Skyrim, at least the design of it. I find in a lot of fantasy games, people trying to, when it comes to actual UI and art design, they go, oh, it has to be like ye olde fantasy. So in Oblivion, you get like all these fucking parchment scrolls and shit. Whereas in Skyrim, it's a very clear, minimalist, bleak interface that matches the game, which again is very bleak and like wastelandish.
I would say I'm one of those people who really likes a ye olde fantasy interface. So, like, as long as it's not written like in super obtuse, like I can't read this shit text. If it's like
Ye olde monk
Yeah.
font.
if it's like a balance between
There's some fantastic. Sorry, you go on, Gabe.
if it's like a balance between like Helvetica and fucking Book of Kells, then I can stand it. But
Fuck you, man. The font on my new video is Book of Kells.
it's Book of Kells as fuck.
Is that the Irish equivalent of fucking papyrus?
Pretty much, yeah.
It's pretty much like our most famous ancient book, and it's written in this like really hard to read.
Distressingly
Font.
angular cursive.
It's the Irish Comic
Yeah.
Sans.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just some typeface jokes for you listeners. I know you like
yeah.
those.
It's real funny.
But,
We're topical over here at
Sky-
the Dying Alone podcast.
Potato Sans.
there's some fantastic. Fuck. What did he say? What are you on about?
Potato Sans. It means without potatoes.
Oh, potato sounds.
That works
poor
on a lot of
show.
levels.
That was clever. That was a
dear,
clever
oh
joke,
dear,
and no
oh
one's
dear.
going to get it, but whatever.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh
Yeah,
dear.
of course they're gonna get it. You just explained
Minus-
it.
I did just explain
Minus
it.
the potatoes.
But they're not going to laugh at it
That was
because I've
good.
explained
That
it.
was that was pretty good, man. That was
was-
dark and low, but that was good.
Obvious one that
Gabe,
doesn't
did
get...
you see that Gray pretended to be upset with me today, and I felt really guilty, and I apologized to
did.
him, and it
You
turned
were
out
like
he
a
was taking
human
the
to
piss.
him, which he just doesn't deserve.
Yeah,
You were making fun of my debilitating illness, dude. I'm not like on Twitter going, haha, your heart can explode at any moment. That's
Oh
hilarious.
my god. Jesus Christ. All right, let's move on.
So, an obvious one
I
that I
think
think
it just did.
doesn't get anywhere near as much love as it should is Gears of War for the
Yeah.
360.
Oh hell yeah!
Like, that
I agree.
defined the entire generation, like half of last gen, easily until Modern Warfare.
Yeah.
Like, every game wanted to look like Gears and play like Gears, and while none of them ever succeeded, they all just looked kind of hideous. Like, Unreal 3 was horrible.
Unreal
Gears
3 was so terrible.
was just singularly beautiful.
I
for the
don't know. There's
excellent
something
second level
so
in the-
there's something so comforting about taking cover behind an Unreal Engine Air, fucking air filter
I
machine,
will.
because they were in like every single game of last gen
Yeah.
using like Unreal Engine air filter machines. What are they called? Air conditioning units
There we go, yeah.
as cover.
I like the traffic blocks that are suddenly like they're just moved into convenient
Yeah.
places. Like you can just like look down a hallway and see several little homes. Like I'll be safe here, I'll be safe there,
Yeah.
I'll be safe there. But I don't know. I'd say like the brown criticism of Gears is fair. Like it doesn't use color.
It's
very
the
well.
thing is though, it's not a brown
It was
game.
more-
It's a grey game.
Gears was grey, not brown. Yeah.
Its colors
It's
were
like not
muted.
like
It didn't-
heavily brown, but it's all
And
muddy.
then it breaks into dark blues for the city
And
segments.
greens.
Then into greens,
Yeah,
and then into
and
blacks and heavy like yellow, this creamy, bloomy kind of crap for the MacGuffin
final-
fluid, whatever it was.
Yeah.
What's that? The level. I think it's the second level in the game with the bat things that would swoop down and kill you if you were in darkness.
The krill,
I
yeah.
forgot what they were called. The krill. That was great. That was such
The
a cool
krill.
co-op moment.
It's the
That was a
krill,
really,
Dom.
really
Dom.
good.
Like,
It's the
I really, really
krill.
like that level. Like I spoke before on the last
Yeah.
podcast. I can't remember if that was one that went up, but about the level with the berserker, the first one you meet in like the big
Yeah,
sort of
yeah.
greenhousey kind of room. That felt very atmospheric to me as well. I really do like the atmosphere in Gears 1. It's
Yeah.
been like 8 years since I played it. I should get back to that at some point.
I'll
If
agree. It's
you,
very
We
should
atmospheric,
co-op
and
it, man.
It's like consistent. You feel like the world is real as you're going through. Like you feel like, all right, this is a planet that's been fucked.
Again, it pulls from
Big
numerous
time.
different sources design-wise. Like the enemies are all medieval.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you look at like the way the grenades are like fucking maces, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With like a
And the Theron
kinda
guards,
Greek
I mean, they
obsession with statues and stuff. It was very interesting.
the Theron guards looked really medieval as well. Their armor was very ancient looking.
And when you got the Hammer of Dawn, you basically became a paladin. calling down
Mighty
raids
your
from
foes.
God. Yeah.
That was such an empowering moment every time you got that gun in the game.
Oh, it was
And
so sick.
They
Yeah.
did it really cleverly as well, that they would first time you only got to use it on a berserker, but the second time they just let you completely let loose on a bunch of mooks. And
Yeah.
it was like, yeah, this is awesome.
Yeah.
That was such a brilliant game.
That's well designed. Like that's kind of like it gives you it as like a tool to beat a boss, and like it gives you power, and then like it gives it to you again just so you can use it on all like the little guys. Like
And you're still being overwhelmed, which shows you that the stakes have been raised. It's a
Yeah.
good
Yeah.
design decision.
well done, Cliff Blazinski.
Yep, talented bloke.
Yes.
And a nice bloke as well, having met him.
Oh man, I once
thought
called
Gears 2 was really atmospheric as well, though. And
I thought the
Gears 3
brightly
was a
coloured
lot more colourful.
tropical shit just didn't do anything for the series. I felt like it got rid of its trademark look in favor of being another Unreal Engine game.
I think the reason for that is sadly because so many games imitated Gears of War, that people started bitching a lot about how Gears of War was brown, and I think Cliff and them probably thought,
it to
okay, well,
heart.
people want us to put more color into the game, and maybe that somewhat took a bit of the atmosphere out that made it so great in the first place.
I also think the way the narrative was handled was really bad too. The thing about Gears 1 is it was all really vague. There's monsters.
I don't know.
There's this kind of slightly fascist government you're working for. It's all very vague and distant. And then in 2 and 3, they obviously had to have more story, and it just became a lot more routine and predictable.
It never did quite get explained though how it all began, and like anyway, I thought that, I don't want to spoil it, but the ending I didn't like Marcus's way he acted towards the end of the game, put it that way. I think it
I didn't
kind
like
of
the
was,
very
or
ending.
maybe
I thought it made him
maybe
look like
that
a
was
fucking
the whole
sociopath.
point. Yeah.
Yeah.
But maybe that was the whole point all along. Maybe that's what they were trying to say to us.
So anyone else? Otherwise, because I've got a big fucking list here, and I will. Go
I'm
on
gonna
for
get
hours.
it out of the way right now. Jet Set Radio Future. It's like some of the best, like the coolest design stuff. Like I was a skateboarder in my younger years, and so I inherently hated rollerblading. But like that game made me want to be a rollerblading.
Is
graffiti
that
artist.
like Bloods and Crips for like nerds?
Oh yeah, it
For like
is. dude. It's
13-year-old middle
serious.
class white kids.
Yeah.
It is serious. But yeah, and then like the music in that game is like good sometimes and
But also crazy repetitive.
crazy repetitive and actually grating and awful. Like
Yeah.
it gets so bad, it's just ridiculous. Like some of the weird.
So pretty much
scrolling
like everything Gray listens to then.
Yeah, probably. But I don't know. It
Just
had
before
such
we,
a good
yeah,
feel and
sorry.
vibe. That's all I want to say.
You're right there. I was actually listening to your latest single today, Gav.
Sick burns. Before we go on, I don't know if Gray has this on his list, but I want to give because I got chastised for not talking about fighting games enough last time. Street Fighter 3 Third Strike has probably the best game soundtrack or fighting game soundtrack in my opinion, because the one thing I love the most about fighting games is that you can basically do whatever the fuck you want with the soundtrack, because like there's so many different ones, like there's metal ones and there's techno ones and there's just everything. It just seems to be this unspoken rule that you can just do whatever the fuck you want with them. But like Third Strike came out in 1999, and I think the director of the game, he was saying just like, it feels like he just went, oh, what's hot right now? Yeah, let's just do all of that. So it's just like all hip hop and drum and bass, and like Dudley's theme is just straight up gay house. It sounds like something you'd play while you're grinding on someone or something. It's I could listen to it for absolutely forever. It's so good. It feels like they try to make actual songs and then put them in a game rather than like game music, which I really like. So yeah,
Street Fighter 3 was on my list, but actually for its visuals rather than its soundtrack design.
Oh yeah, I can definitely talk about that too, because
I still think it stands as one of the most drop dead gorgeous 2D fighters made.
Yeah, definitely.
The animation work is outstanding.
Yeah, I think Elena's idol animation has like 108 frames or something, like, as opposed to like, I don't know, whatever the fuck they get away with these days.
The sprites aren't mirrored either. They are done for different sides, like left and right, which is incredible. That's
the reason that Gil is blue and red, like he's painted like
to
right
show
down
off the engine.
Yeah, because if you turn around, he's like more red on one side than the other, and if you turn around, he's blue on one side. And it's the same with Elena. She's got like different piercings and bangles and stuff on her left and right sides, just to show off the engine.
Q's fucking heavy punch, man.
Yeah.
Like that way he just leans into it and is like it's this crazy overhead punch, and it's just so beautifully animated.
Oh, the punch in the stomach, and then he just like slams his fist down on top of their head and sends them flying.
Yeah.
I love that one, yeah. Oh man. I want to play that now. I'm gonna play that after the podcast.
But your point about fighting games having very varied and distinctive soundtracks, it does stand. Like Tekken had a lot of like light techno dance stuff going on.
Yeah.
Soul Blade did some very interesting stuff with almost like rearranged period music. And obviously stuff like Blaze Blue is doing like fucking Victorian metal mashups or whatever the fuck.
Yeah. I noticed that the new Killer Instinct is one of the biggest reasons that I like it is the music, because the composer, Mick Gordon, who's just does fantastic work. He did the soundtrack for the new Wolfenstein game as well, which is I haven't actually heard. I assume
fan-fucking-tastic.
Yeah.
Really good soundtrack.
It's like every single Killer Instinct song has been really different so far. Like there's a rap one, there's a techno one, there's a metal one, there's a orchestral one. Like the orchestral one, Saberwolf's theme, is called Lycanthropy. It's like 10 minutes long, and it's like it's so good, man. You should go listen to it. Just go look up the new Killer Instinct soundtrack on YouTube if you're listening to this. After you listen to this, because
the old Killer Instinct soundtrack was fucking great as well, man.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, I listened to like the original like Mortal Kombat soundtrack and the Killer Instinct classic soundtrack, like the way you move and everything. It's so fucking silly. It's great, man.
Yeah, I remember playing Killer Instinct when it came out, man, and it was just we couldn't believe we were hearing like, and I say this very generously now, metal in a game.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was basically like one of those crappy Casio synths with a terrible guitar voice going but for us that was like the most amazing shit ever. Like
no, I looked up some screenshots of the original game and I'm like, how did I ever enjoy this? It looks so fucking silly. Like I used to play Spinal was my favorite character, and he's literally just a skeleton with a sword.
He's so fucking funny though. He looks ridiculous.
He does.
Yeah.
I feel like I remember.
And at the time when you're. So you go on.
I was just gonna say, I remember something about like there was like a blind person who was really into Killer Instinct as a fighting game, because like it was so clean, like the footsteps and like the sounds for the animations, like he could pinpoint where people were, and he could fight, like he could play with other people, and it was like one of his favorite games.
Huh.
That's pretty sick. Yeah, I remember when I was very young, I went into an arcade when arcades were still a thing, and I was looking around all the machines, and then I saw like a Mortal Kombat 2 machine or something, and I was just hooked from the moment I heard the main Mortal Kombat theme. Just like, yes, I want to play this, But I got more into Street Fighter as the time went along, because Street Fighter is more of a game. I love Mortal Kombat, but it's pretty it is what it is. It's not very competitive or anything like that. But
it's not a soundtrack thing, but the voice clips in Mortal Kombat were amazing.
Johnny Cage.
Like that fight is like it just hasn't been matched in kind of about starting voice clip.
Yeah.
Or fucking that little toasty dude who I forgot his name, but
Toasty!
he pops on.
Yeah.
It's so good. It's so satisfying.
Oh, my favorite one was always the friendship, because he just sounded so confused. It's like, Scorpion wins. Friendship. Friendship. Oh, I miss when arcades were still, a thing.
You have to move to Japan, man.
Yeah, I do. I really do.
So art, music, Bastion, Transistor.
Oh yeah, definitely. I haven't actually got around
Yeah,
to
The
Transistor.
art
Absolutely.
design of that is amazing. Gen Z is
Yeah.
very good. Very good artist.
My favorite thing about the Bastion, like when you get to the what's her face singing "Build That Wall," is just like you just stop, and they knew you were going to stop, so the announcer comments on it. It's just like he stopped and listened for a while. It's just like I sat there for like 5 minutes listening to that because I didn't want to move.
The only thing I didn't like about Bastion on a visual level is the levels are beautiful, and then the main character is actually like a really shoddy 3D model.
Yeah, he
who
looks
seems-
alright, I guess.
They seem to have I don't think he's actually 3D. I think they've just taken screen caps of a 3D model, and he sticks out like a sore thumb.
I never
really
noticed
noticed
it,
that.
but I get what you mean. Yeah,
I have a really obvious one. Planescape Torment.
Visually, I think it's ugly, dude.
Oh man,
What's
it's
the design,
mesmerizing.
though?
The aesthetic in it is incredible.
No, it's a random mishmash of it's impossible to tell what's going on in the backgrounds. I thought,
I think that's kind of the point.
well,
especially at the
well, I
resolutions
played.
you have to play it at.
Did you play it modded or did you play it when it came out?
I played it when it came out, and I played it modded, and it does look a lot better in high res because you can get an idea of the backgrounds as a whole.
Okay, but you see, you're thinking technically now, aren't you? You're thinking that building got in my way, whereas I'm thinking this thing looked like a big fucking giant mushroom penis with spikes sticking out of it, and what an incredible looking design.
No, see, it's from a design level where I think I couldn't tell what things in the background were supposed to be or what 3D plane they were supposed to be on. So they just felt like weird photo collages sometimes.
Huh.
Around the
That
city,
never
indoors it
bothered
wasn't
me.
as bad, but some of the stuff around the city just didn't seem to make any sense from a perspective.
Wasn't that kind of the point of the game, though, with all the doors and kind of this whole this feeling of unreality about the whole thing?
Yeah.
I love the game. I just
Whether or
think
not that was intentional is arguable.
Infinity Engine games had a nasty habit of looking like weird 3D photo mashups.
One thing, though, that really took out of the atmosphere in that game was the combat music. It started... I kind of wished there had been a thing that halfway through the game, the combat music just wouldn't have played anymore, because it was just the one piece, and it was this really frenetic piece of music that just kind of made you want the fights to be over, because it was actually got really grating.
To be fair, if there's one thing that took me out of that game, it was the combat.
Yeah, no,
The combat was shite. So
it's not even combat. It's just you wait and the fight ends.
it's one of my favorite games, guys, and you should really go play it. But there were a lot of problems with Planescape.
Just play it on the easiest mode and play it for the story. That's what I did.
And invest heavily in intelligence and charisma. Fuck combat stats. The game's just not a combat game.
No.
One thing I was going to mention, it's kind of another, not really a technical thing, is that I really miss pre-rendered backgrounds. I know there's literally no use for them now, but I've been playing Final Fantasy VII again because I haven't actually beaten it yet, and obviously I think is every background in that game pre-rendered? I think it is.
Yes.
And it's just there's so much detail in them, even through the JPEG-ness of how they look blown up on a bigger screen. I mean, I'm playing it on the Vita, so it probably looks better than on a huge monitor or a TV or whatever. But it's just I don't know. I still like the sort of limited frames of animation and painstaking detail that went into everything.
The beautiful thing about pre-rendered backgrounds is you can have very small details that don't take a great deal of work to accomplish.
Yeah.
So if you want to have a little bar that has a little sign above it that says something interesting, you can do that. You don't have to build the asset.
Yeah.
And this came up.
Aren't pre-rendered backgrounds kind of making a comeback now, though?
I don't think so. I mean,
Are
they are. They're still in.
What was that
remake
RPG that came out last year? The top-down one. What was that? I can't remember. Barry was nagging me to play it for ages. It's the one that you did
Shadowrun.
the critical miss. No, not that, but that did have really cool backgrounds. Yeah. No, it was one that you did a critical miss about how it went on and on too much with too much text.
Oh, you're talking about
Divinity,
and that is actually 3D.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I was playing some of that today. Actually, I'm really enjoying it so far.
The engine is so good. The way it's a visceral kind of world where you can interact with things and it feels so real.
Yeah.
And then the fucking writing starts, and there's like a bajillion lines of it, and it's all this fucking trying to be funny fantasy shit, and it just drove me nuts.
It makes me chuckle. It's not exactly funny, but
It's when it gets too wordy. Like there was the one dude in like the temporal place. It was like a little dude just talking a bunch
the
of
fucking-
like
the
jargon.
The exposition goblin. That
Yeah,
appears when you pick up a
I
fucking
did not
item.
like that.
And I like reading. I like Planescape Torment, and that's a fucking.
I
that's
don't
a
like
book
reading it at
with
all.
a game stuck to it.
A book. It's a book. A
What?
book.
I would stab you in the arsehole, dude.
Promises.
All right. Speaking of Shadowrun, before though, I think it's the same guys, but they're making a new game called Necropolis, which is
Yeah, that looks really
pretty
cool.
looking.
You linked me to that, and it's gorgeous.
Yeah. I've linked it in the chat, but it looks, everything looks so clean. It's like it looks like Journey stylistically. Like there's so many angles and clean shapes, and yeah, that's one I'm really looking forward to art wise. It's showing at PAX, so we'll see more of
Oh
it.
yeah, this looks
in a
very
week or
cool.
so.
Oh,
It's
wow.
another one of those
This
games
looks
trying to
really
be Dark
cool.
Souls.
Yeah, that's immediately what I thought.
Yeah.
Though I suppose any third-person over-the-shoulder camera setup now that doesn't have people like air dashing everywhere. People are just, that's fucking Dark Souls. That.
If there's
It's a
I'm talking about a
well
game that
determined-
that also hasn't come out yet, but Hyper Light Drifter looks like it's going to be one of the prettiest games.
Does look astounding.
Yeah,
and have
that-
one of the best soundtracks.
the
Because
art.
I saw like one of their preview videos, and it's sort of like the music's all like bit crushed and stuff, and even like the atmospherics a bit crushed, and the art is just so stunningly pretty. Like it's very
It's
pink, and,
so
but
good.
yeah, I like that.
It's like
There's a ton of indie games on the horizon that look just absolutely stunning. Like Rhyme.
Yeah. Right?
yeah.
The one that looks a lot like Ico, but more colourful.
Oh, I haven't heard.
Oh
of that.
yes, I saw that. Yeah, that looks very cool. No Man's Sky looks like it has a pretty
Yeah,
interesting
it's
aesthetic
crazy.
as well.
Oh yeah,
Definitely.
definitely.
I can't let myself get excited for it because it looks like everything I've ever wanted, and it's. I can't believe I've been scorned too many times.
Yeah, wait till it comes out.
Looks
and
like
then
the
see.
kind of game Molyneux would promise.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
That-
get a
that
spaceship
is-
and you can take off. You can go right down to the planet, and there's like rendered fucking animals that are different for every planet and shit. And I'm just trained to go, yeah, this is bullshit.
Yeah, just
I
like
am
sure
worried there's
that
going
sure
to
it
be
is.
nothing to do other than look around, and I don't want that in a game, to be honest.
Well, it's a space sim, isn't it? So by nature, there's probably just going to be a lot of mundanity. Is that a word? Mundanity?
Yes.
It is. Now.
Mundaneness.
Mundanacity.
I think Elite Dangerous
Can we?
kind of nailed that too. From what I've seen of it, it's just like it seems to be like a very space simmy sort of game, much more than No Man's Sky looks like it's going to be, and that it's just like mostly just the emptiness of space. And
That game looks really cool.
Yeah.
They
I've
generally
been trying
have
to
crazy good
decide whether to
soundtracks,
get
too.
that or not.
I'm tempted, but I kind of want to wait until I get the Rift or whatever Valve is bringing out for VR now, because it just looks like a game that would be so much fun.
Oh yeah. Can you play it with a controller? Because I hate using mouse and keyboard for gaming.
I assume so.
You play it with
A friend of
you
mine.
play
All
it with a
gaming.
fucking joystick, you casual.
Yeah, I
fuck.
was gonna say you can. Yeah. Fuck's sake.
Rayman in general, but also
So-
particularly Rayman Origins, which is just holy fucking shit. Look at it.
Oh, God, yes.
Some pretty artwork.
The original Rayman, I thought was really, really pretty, and then they went 2D, and it looked like the 3D. Sorry, and it looked like the ugliest fucking game ever.
Rayman 3 was very good, but also hideous.
Oh, Rayman 3 I liked a lot, but Rayman 2 looks terrible.
Really? Am I thinking of?
Rayman 3 is the one on the PS2.
Yeah, okay. I'm thinking of Rayman 2, which is not a pretty game, but it was very, very good.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, I just really liked how much personality the Rayman 1 had, like in this with the sprites and everything. And like
The musical levels was
the
so
different
good.
themes in the world. Oh yeah, the musical world was fantastic.
I would say,
Can we talk about Okami?
You guys can. I haven't played it.
I actually haven't played that one
can?
either.
It's fucking incredible when it comes to atmosphere. If you had an option to skip all the dialogue in the game, that is, it would be perfect for atmosphere. But
Do you
Dialogue
just not
wouldn't
like
be so
dialogue in
bad.
Japanese games at all?
Oh, dude, the dialogue in Okami is... It's not the dialogue that's the problem. It's there's no voice acting, but they still felt the need to
Yeah,
fill
they just-
the game with sound. So the characters go like...
they go blurgle wurgle.
Oh, so it's like Zelda.
So there's like 20 minutes of this shit, and like getting through the
No,
intro
except
is
there's
so
like
hard.
Zelda doesn't make you sit there and listen to it for like 10 minutes at a time.
Oh, that's fair enough.
But the soundtrack in Okami is so incredible and unique. I've never heard anything like it. Maybe just because unlike I'm not as like knowledgeable on Japanese culture and games as you guys are, so it felt very unique to me. Yeah. And I don't watch much anime stuff either. Like I've seen fucking Akira and the Ninja Scrolls and some other one about like some guy in a gym who's trying to oogle the girls and everyone laughs at his boner and then everyone turns into big tentacle months. No, is it Urotsukidoji or something?
No, that's mostly about tentacle rape and the end of the world.
Yeah,
I mean
crazy
that's
fucking
most
movie.
anime.
I mean that's classic. That's a tentacle rape classic, dude.
That's what I dream about. So.
Yeah, it was pretty much the thing that turned me off anime.
Fair enough.
I was like, yeah, no, I'm not going to bother getting into this.
I honestly don't watch much anime either. I just the ones I do watch I kind of nerd out over, like JoJo.
Quick anime digression: Kill la Kill and its soundtrack, fucking amazing. Sawano's soundtracks in general are just fantastic, and you should watch. Like he will literally carry a show on his fucking back on the strength of his soundtracks.
Let's not get into. Yeah, I won't start talking about the problems I have with Kill la Kill because nerds.
Oh, it's huge issues with the show. But the soundtrack is fantastic.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Like, I'll know Zero is fucking garbage too, but the soundtrack, holy fucking shit.
Yeah. All right, back to games.
Back to games.
I'm gonna come in with Mirror's Edge. Such a pretty game.
Oh, such a pretty game and such a good soundtrack.
I don't remember the soundtrack, but I
are so
really
clean.
love the visuals. Yeah,
It's like everything's so clean
The
and well done,
soundtrack's
and when
kind
light
of,
comes in, it matters so much. Or when color comes in, it's so important. The color that's there, and
It's a dedication to one color too. Like there's the orange bit, and then there's the blue bit, and it's used to guide you through the levels, and it's very good in that respect.
it's because it's so based on like white essentially. Like everything is just like white standard, and then it brings in color to like influence you. And then like it gets
and the music reflects
half,
that as well.
Yeah.
The music has this kind of shimmering, crystalline quality to it that really emphasizes the aesthetic of the game.
It's futurism to it, yeah. I think one thing Mirror's Edge did do quite well that a lot of other games based in the future didn't is it perfectly captured like the Apple design aesthetic.
yeah. The modern minimalist thing.
Yeah, clean whites and plastics, and that's kind of how things look now. They don't look like fucking Blade Runner, you know, where it's all like gothic architecture and
chunky
neon
CRTs
signs everywhere.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Speaking of soundtracks, anything with Jesper Kid on it has a wonderful soundtrack.
Who's that? Is that Mass Effect?
Assassin's Creed.
He did, and he did like the Borderlands series. He did Darksiders. Like Borderlands
there's
has
a particular
fucking
song,
lovely
Borderlands
music.
1, yeah, that's just like it's kind of an atmospheric one. It's got this big, huge, bassy synth drone. They play it when you're in like cave sections or something that I just absolutely adore. I wouldn't be able to like pinpoint it, but it's there's some tracks in Borderlands that I really like. Yeah.
What I liked about Assassin's Creed is fantasy games or historical games tend to always default to kind of boring orchestral shit.
Yeah.
And because of the sci-fi element, Assassin's Creed had like a mix of classical and kind of electronic kind of ambient stuff going on, which made it a lot more tolerable for me, both in the visuals and in the soundtrack.
And a lot of acoustic guitars as well, which actually for gaming gave it quite a unique flavor. Yeah. Like Assassin's Creed 2 is one of my favorite soundtracks ever because they mixed. It was basically the three elements were those sequenced synths, the acoustic guitars and harps and things, and then that absolutely beautiful kind of almost operatic singer, the female singer, over the top of it, just very subtly. It was really, really well done.
Yeah. One thing I really like in games that I don't think enough of them do, especially with like the whole orchestra, this we want to be a movie soundtrack thing, is moments where there's just like no music or very, very subtle, quiet music that you wouldn't even really like be able to like focus on. Because like, sorry to go into Metal Gear again, but Ground Zeroes has a lot of that. Like, there's
no escape.
There's no escape. This is the only time I'm going to
It just never ends.
All right, fuck it. I won't talk about it then. No, it's fine. No, fuck you.
No, go on.
Fuck you.
Talk about it.
Go on. I don't care. I don't even care.
Talk about Metal Gear, Gabe.
All right, yeah, I'm fine. Fuck it. I forgot what I was gonna say now.
I'm
So
sure
cool.
we'll cover it next week.
Yeah. Basically, Metal Gear is great, the best game ever. That's what he was going to say.
No, I was actually.
No, you were talking about its use of silence.
Yes, because as with most Metal Gear games, there's generally there's not a lot of music just when you're sneaking around, and it's just there's just music in the caution phases. But I don't even think in Ground Zeroes there's music in the caution phase. It's just it's just basically just atmosphere, and the music only really comes in when you're being chased, and it swells up in certain parts, like when you rescue Paz from the whatever, and sorry, spoilers, and you put her on the chopper, the main theme from Peace Walker comes in for just 2 bars, and it's just really surprising out of nowhere the first time, and then it's just gone again. So the game is mostly silent, which I really like. But yeah,
It's a real pity they didn't do that on a violin.
Really?
That theme,
Oh, I
it should
get
have
it.
just been played on a violin, yeah.
You mean on a damn fiddle?
A fiddle, that's it, yeah.
Yeah.
God, that line was so bad. I was sitting there with my head in my hands when I was like, people enjoy this? What? I was like, okay, it has to be ironic, but we're not getting into this fucking conversation again.
Hey, you're bringing it up now, not me. All right, let's go.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get a bunch of really obvious fucking indie games out of the way, because they get covered every time.
Journey.
And that's Dust Force, Journey, Res,
Meat Boy.
Flower, Meat Boy for visuals, Cannibal,
It's clean.
Really?
Well, no, for soundtrack, Danny Baranowski's the fucking man.
Monument Valley, that kind of shit.
Limbo.
Limbo.
Limbo,
Damn, games are good. Isn't that crazy?
yeah,
There's
especially Metal Gear.
pretty 2D fucking indie games are so fucking common now. It's actually really frustrating. There's 4 came out last week. I'm never going to get to play them all. I just don't have the fucking time to play them all. I can't play.
VVVVVV had a really good soundtrack as well. I wasn't so big on the Commodore 64 aesthetic or whatever, but or whatever fucking 8-bit computer thing it was trying to ape. But the soundtrack, the soundtrack in that game is absolutely fantastic. It's just it's some of the best just chiptune nostalgia stuff I've ever heard, I suppose.
Speaking of art design, oh sorry, go ahead.
No, I was done.
Can we talk about George Kamatani in or Tani, however the fuck that's pronounced, just in general, Vanillaware in general?
Oh, you mean?
Ooh.
I don't know. Can we?
Are we allowed to talk about that?
We should. Dragon's Crown is
Titties.
unique.
Titties.
Titties and pecs and fucking. The dude is so talented and has such a unmistakable art style.
I'm sorry, I couldn't
Unmistakable.
So I just googled this Vanillaware, and all I'm seeing is a bunch of fucking
big anime titties.
weeboo pedo fodder.
Oh, God.
Look up Dragon's Crown and you'll see what I'm talking about.
It's art, you fucking Philistines.
It's all very well done. Everything.
It's called hentai, and it's art.
Thank you, Stanley.
Look up Muramasa and fucking
Muramasa is
Grim.
gorgeous.
Yeah,
But
Grim.
Dragon's
I'm
Crown...
I'm
Okay,
looking
here's
up
the thing,
Dragon's
right?
Crown now.
Muramasa is just as fucking.
At least the ones in
objectifying of
Dragon's
women as
Crown
Dragon's
look
Crown.
of legal age.
Yeah, whereas
At least the ones in
Muramasa,
Dragon's
they
Crown
look like
look
fucking
of legal age.
children with bulbous heads.
Yeah.
No, this
It's
is just
weird
not
how
my
that
kind of
works,
thing at all.
I love that all the pictures of the female characters are fighting with Dragon's Crown are all in some ridiculous 4K resolution.
It's necessary.
Yeah.
I wonder why. Oh, Christ.
I don't even notice the breasts. I just notice the art, guys. The art.
Yeah,
Sure.
right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Oh dear,
it's all
I'm
very
noticing.
colorful and
I'm noticing some pretty disturbing art further down the Google search here.
Yeah, you might want to close that window, Gav.
This game has some. This game has some horny fans. Jesus Christ.
No kidding. One game, in terms of aesthetics, it's just the same pixely 2D hard as balls indie game thing, but Risk of Rain. I really, really liked not so much the art style of the characters and stuff, but the levels themselves felt very, I suppose, believable. They were very well thought out and very alien, in a kind of similar way that the Morrowind was, but in a lot more technologically advanced ways. And I thought the soundtrack was really very good as well. Yeah.
I found it was so impossibly zoomed out. I couldn't really concentrate on anything.
I couldn't. I played it, the only time I played it, it was with a group of 4 friends, and it's just the most immensely stressful game to play. It's just it's like constantly having a heart attack because everything is coming at you all the time, and I don't actually enjoy playing it that much, but I think I really enjoy the aesthetics anyway. I'm just looking at my Steam list for some other things.
I'm gonna say one like a B game from a while back, Enslaved, Odyssey to the West.
Yes.
That game,
Yes.
it uses complementary, like a double complementary color palette really well. Like everything is blue and green and red and orange, and it's just I don't know. I guess that's not really double complementary, but it's,
red and green look really pretty together.
yeah, and then it works in like other like washed out blues, and it like the aesthetic of the game of like Earth like thousands of years past going to shit or whatever is amazing. Like it's done so well.
With that very light Chinese influence, it's yeah.
Yeah,
And the
I thought that
very
was a pretty game.
I thought
and
it
for
was-
such a ruined world, it was such a bright, colorful. Well, the first chapter in New York was so bright and colorful,
Yeah,
and then
it
it kind of got darker as you went along.
Yeah,
I think Ninja Theory games in general are stunning to look at.
the new Devil May Cry
Yeah.
had an amazing aesthetic.
It did.
I'm really into like the neon colors and shit.
Oh, that dance club level, just absolutely astounding.
Yeah, it's so good. Like, I really like the Bill O'Reilly boss fight as well. I know that's the one everyone talks about, but it's just I think for good reason. It's probably my favorite in the game.
I know everyone loves to hate that game. I still really like it.
I love it. I think it's fucking great. I'm really looking
What
forward
else
to
did
the
they
new
make?
version as well. Actually,
Heavenly Sword. What's this Heavenly Sword? I've heard of that.
That was supposed to be the PS3's answer to God of War,
yeah.
and it was
Oh, I remember that.
Right.
It's like the game. It's kind of the game that was like the PS3's equivalent of The Order, where it's just like, yeah, this is the reason to buy a PS3, and then it came out and it was like,
and it was kind of just another dodgy launch game.
Speaking of pretty gratuitous female character designs,
yeah, it's not great.
God
God of War had a fucking amazing soundtrack. Oh my god.
What's interesting, I think it's written by Rihanna Pratchett. Not God of War, obviously. The Heavenly Sword is written by
Heavenly
Rihanna
Sword.
Pratchett, I think, who did Mirror's Edge
Really?
and
Tomb Raider.
and Tomb Raider.
Wait,
Tomb
she
Raider.
did Mirror's Edge? I had no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's awesome. I love Rihanna Pratchett.
Oh, how the fuck have I not mentioned Hotline Miami yet?
The aesthetics for Hotline Miami are very controversial, I would say. Like, I think they're gorgeous, but a lot of people have said they're just like headache-inducing nonsense.
They are headache-inducing nonsense. Like I got a really bad headache when I was playing the game for the first time with like the song that plays in the first game, the level. It's just one, and I was just like, oh my god, this is so hard and it's so frustrating. But like, I got up and like I turned the lights off and I just played it all night for like 6 hours until my eyes like were just bright red. It was a very strange experience. And that's
Which I
what
guess is the
anticipate
idea
with
of the
new one
game,
as
isn't
well.
it? It's
Yeah.
supposed to be a very trippy, almost painful experience.
Yeah. That soundtrack is just exceptional. There's certain people who I follow on Twitter and who Gav also follows on Twitter that disagree with me, and they can go fuck themselves with listening to this because it's got like the best soundtrack ever. But anyway,
Yeah, I always get stuck on that one song that sounds like Darude's Sandstorm sped up.
which is
It's like, oh my god.
the best song ever to be featured in any game, by the way, if you were curious. FTL had a really good soundtrack as well.
It did. I recently bought that on Bandcamp.
Yeah, I've just been listening to it. I listened to a bit of it on Spotify today, and I forgot how nice it was. I don't know.
Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1, 2,
Yes.
and 3.
Yes.
Those
That's how I got
those
into
like
music.
shaped my music in middle school and elementary
mine too.
school.
They continue to shape my music taste. Like punk and hardcore and rap is just like everything I like now.
Yeah. I think
I
they
got
kind
into-
of got a bit dodgy, like going forward in the like I don't know. I was like looking through the soundtrack list, and like by the time I got to Tony Hawk 4, I was like, most of these songs, I don't know. But
I
like,
think they started getting a little bit too rap heavy as time went on.
Yeah, there wasn't enough stuff like
Possible.
Superman.
yeah, Goldfinger, and then there's some Dead Kennedys, and then like the third one had CKY, which was like popular for a little bit.
Yeah.
Guerrilla Radio on 2. So good.
Oh, Cave Story has a. I don't know if you guys have played it. It's like
I've played the original.
yeah, I played the original. I played that like in 2006, and it's just like it's entirely made by one guy. Everything in it was made by one guy. The soundtrack, the visuals, programmed, everything. And it's not exactly like a pretty game in terms of again like character models and stuff, but the backgrounds and stuff. I really like have a thing for like super detailed and kind of, I guess, kind of like, I don't know how to describe it, like broken down backgrounds, like anything that's sort of like destroyed or ruined or whatever. I really like, especially if it's like in a
I'm with you on that one.
And the soundtrack.
I'm with you there.
It's really, really beautiful. Like, you should just go play it if you haven't.
You know who does? Well, I think everyone knows it, but nobody does urban decay quite like Rockstar. Any sections in their games that are in rundown, shitty old buildings always look amazing.
Yeah.
Like their stuff in Manhunt was genuinely unnerving.
Yeah, and also there was that. I don't know if you got that. Did you finish the Max Payne 3, Gray?
Mm-hmm.
There's a later level where he's going through this like building in the slums, and it's just incredibly designed. It just you can feel the horrible mess and dirt and mud everywhere, and they do a really good job of it, I think.
That is
even in GTA, where they don't have as much detail to work with, they still get those rundown areas looking great.
The haunted building in Red Dead was really good too.
Haunted building in Red Dead, what was that again?
In Red Dead Redemption, there was like a house that was actually haunted. It had like shit would move around and stuff. They do dead spaces very well.
Obviously, I have to mention Fallout 3 for atmosphere as well, because it's my favorite game because of the atmosphere. So there you go. That's said. It's out of the way.
If I had to describe the Fallout 3 atmosphere in one word, it would be green.
Yeah, it's there. That game is full of fart gas. I love
it is
Fallout
a nuclear
3,
wasteland,
but it's full
so
of fart gas. Yeah.
It's just you play as a character wearing a gas mask full of fart gas.
I can only describe like green and purple clouds and shit in games as fart gas now. But on a similar note, less fart gassy is Dark Souls. Like, it is my favorite game because of the atmosphere it has. Like, especially in the last area, the Killing the First Flame. There's like, I can never tell if it's like music or just like voices in the background, but there's something going on in the background, and it lends itself to like this, like, you know, like this gigantic, vast apocalyptic area. I'm not even sure if you can see the roof in it, if there is a roof, but it's probably my favorite area in the game, and it's sad that I get to spend so little time.
I think there's a roof in the boss room, but I think the structure above that has collapsed in, as far as I can remember.
That and Ash Lake obviously is like the.
I was going to say Ash Lake and the very end area of Demon Souls.
Oh, where the old one is, or
where you got to summon the old one, and it's just this desolate fucking beach.
Yeah,
this grey.
Are they ever gonna?
And then this like fucking Leviathan thing coming towards you. Absolutely gorgeous.
They're never going to port it to PC.
Are they ever going to put that on PS4?
I'd like it to come on PS4, but I doubt it.
There'd have to be substantial changes. I think it's an.
I want to play Demon Souls, but I just can't stand the PS3 controller.
If they buffed it up to 1080-60, that would be like just absolutely perfect. Because I bought a PS4 for Bloodborne, and it's been sitting here since we stopped playing Destiny because I haven't touched it since. So I
think Destiny's the only game I own for the PS4.
Yeah, me too. I own like a few PS Plus games, but I own Ground Zeroes as well. But that's it.
Me too.
Yeah,
me too.
I have a bunch of PS4. What do I have? I've got Infamous, or was that an Xbox one? No, that was PlayStation, wasn't it?
That's a gorgeous game.
Which one was that for again? Was that
PS4? That was PlayStation.
Infamous
Second Son.
Yeah. Killzone is technically like a really good looking game, but doesn't really have that much in the way of atmosphere.
No,
I would say, going back to atmosphere though of Dark Souls, I think one thing that made that game so strong was everything felt so real and in place. Like it felt good when you're going from area to area. Whereas it's the Dark Souls 2 did not do that.
Yeah. True.
Like there's a part in Dark Souls 2 where you go like the Hyde's Tower, I think, and like you come up the stair set, and like you kind of get going a bit, and you look behind you. And there's like no indication of where you came from. There's like a giant like ocean and like a weird building that's just like a block sticking up. So you came up from like a weird stairway that went under an ocean that like went through a thing, and you're like, I don't know. It felt,
to be fair, there were
stitched together.
The worst transition for me.
There were a few hints of it, like
the worst transition for that in that game for me was going from the Shaded Woods to Drang Lake Castle. When you go through like a 20-meter tunnel from, you know, this like foggy Silent Hill-esque wood out onto this sheer cliff face where it's pouring with rain and you can see the night sky and everything, and this massive castles right in front of you. Like, how the fuck did I not see that in the woods? You know?
Yeah.
Dude, you can see it. You can see that castle from like all the different places
Yeah, I know, but it's like I
in
don't
like
think you can
Majula
see it
and
in when you're right.
One
before
thing-
it, which kind of
one thing that made no fucking sense was the big windmill place.
Oh yeah,
Like you went up to the top of that, took a lift upwards, and then you're in this big volcanic lava area.
yeah.
You're like, what the fuck?
And-
Where did
and-
this
and when
come
you get to
from?
the
There
top
wasn't
of the-
even.
When you get to the top of the Iron Keep, you look around, and the entire landscape around you looks like you're in hell or in a massive volcano or something.
Forever and ever,
Yeah,
yeah. There's no indication of any other landscape. Yeah, that was badly done.
Yeah,
This is where I feel kind of bad for not having got very far in Dark Souls 2.
Pussy.
Scrub.
He gave up. He gave up because he couldn't beat the White Knight.
Yeah.
just like on the internet.
Oh.
I gave up because I didn't like the game. I wasn't enjoying myself.
Well, I took your advice and went back to Alien Isolation and gave it another chance, and I'm enjoying it.
There's
well,
a game
no, enjoying
with a
isn't the
hella
right word.
visual design.
You're
It
playing it.
captures the first movie so well.
I suppose I would say it engrosses me a lot, but enjoy is probably the wrong word because it just is an extremely stressful game to play.
Did you get to the hospital yet?
No, I only got past the first alien encounter, and I'm at the bit now with these beckoned robots chasing after me, and I'm like, oh, I had to stop last
The
night because I
hospital
was
is
tired.
going
But
to ruin your fucking shit, dude.
Really?
It's so stressful.
is it? I've heard it's a very frustrating level because I was looking at the forums and
there's a lot of alien molestation in that level.
Isn't that like the other title of the game?
The theme,
Alien Molestation? Yeah. Somebody should have called it.
Killer 7, anybody?
Oh man.
I did not play that one,
My
unfortunately.
best friend at the time got me that game for my 13th birthday. I wasn't ready. It fucking horrified me.
It
Like-
is absolutely mental.
It is so mental and weird. Like the whole thing where I got everyone killed and then I had to go out as what's his name? G something, the cleaner guy, and you have to like pick up their head.
Garcian, yeah.
Garcian in like you pick up their head in a paper bag and you take it back to the room and you put it on like a table and you have to fill it with blood by just hammering on the X button. And then when it fills up, it just goes ding and it makes a really happy noise. And it's just like I couldn't do that. I was too scared.
It was the best of Suda's games, I think.
I would agree. Yeah, I didn't really like any of the other ones.
I thought No More Heroes was incredibly overrated. I thought Lollipop Chainsaw was terrible.
Oh, Lollipop Chainsaw is a bitch
Shadows
one.
of the Dam is cute.
Shadows of the
fun
Dam,
enough.
but he just did the narrative and art design, I think. The actual gameplay was Shinji Mikami, which is why it plays like a better Resident Evil 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that actually, no, I think that's actually the best game he's been involved with, purely because he didn't do the gameplay.
Shoulda? Yeah.
Like, Sign Mura 2 is really good because he didn't do the gameplay, because his gameplay tends to be really simplistic.
Yeah, I played Killer is Dead and I found it really, really boring. That was him, wasn't it?
Yes, and that was really, really bad.
It was.
It's just
I also
mashy shit.
wasn't really a fan of like the super duper thick like ink lines around everyone. I guess like
It was like Street Fighter 4 gone terribly wrong.
yeah. I like that
Or
aesthetic. in
just
Street
normal
Fighter 4.
Street Fighter 4.
Just not very much. Yeah, Street Fighter 4 is not a pretty game at all.
It's a striking game visually. Like nothing else looks like it. But
Street Fighter 5 looks so much better already. Like I like
those
the hands.
the
Street
fucking
Fighter
hands, man, they're just as bad in Street Fighter 5 too.
They
These
are.
giant fucking muscly fucking like sausage hands
Yeah, but
on everybody,
you were just-
even the women, and it's so
you were
bad.
just installing fucking Third Strike earlier. Have you seen Makoto's hands in Third Strike? They're like bigger than her head.
Yeah, but they're like they're at least they're not proportioned incorrectly, but the fingers and shit are proportioned correctly to the hand. And considering she's very much a punching character, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Whereas in Street Fighter 5, the dude just seems to have no concept of how the structure of the hand works. So it's just this flat slab of meat that's cut into like 5 fucking like tendrils.
Yeah. Well, maybe Charlie's hand is shaped like that because all he does is throw sonic booms. It's canon. I'm thinking about it.
Just these flappy
you know
meat
who
flaps.
does atmosphere really well? Who I think does atmosphere really well is Remedy.
They
Oh yes, absolutely.
They did
Alan fucking Wake and
Alan
Max Payne.
Alan Wake and Max Payne.
And their new game, which
Alan
looks really
Wake's a
good.
great game. Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't seem. I don't know. I'll see when it
I
comes
will
along. But
play anything made and written by Sam Lake. Like the dude's a fucking
Yeah.
genius. Like he is like I think he's Swedish. He's like hella Swedish Kojima.
His ability to write about writers and their struggle of writing.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah, Alan Wake is a little bit masturbatory in that respect, but he just understands the genre he's writing in, and there's always a meta narrative that perfectly matches it, and like no one else does that.
And that game did such a brilliant, the contrast between the day sections and the night sections was so huge and so well done. Like the daytime was kind of your almost Twin Peaksy
Yeah,
soap opera style kind of, I don't know, just wandering around talking to people, and it's all very bright and pretty. And then at night you have to do the kind of action stuff, and it was really, really clever. I love the atmosphere in that game.
Prince of
And
Persia,
at the time, the lighting,
Yeah, man.
oh yeah, man.
like specifically
Warrior Within.
Warrior is both a really good and bad example. Like the Sands of Time, absolutely stunning.
So
Yeah.
good.
A Disney,
So
a Disney
fantastic.
movie in motion with all that beautiful bloom lighting and stuff.
Yeah,
Followed by
yeah.
A Warrior Within, which is like,
Ray.
everything that is wrong with sequels in one fucking package.
Right down to the.
I like that
fucking
game.
edge-
I
edgy
like it,
intro
and
with
I-
the Godsmack song playing and the big pirate tits.
Right down to the
Yeah.
fucking god. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I like the soundtrack in that game. See, that was the first one I
Stand
played.
alone. So bad.
Stand alone.
Butt Rock has no place in games.
It was the first one of the three I played, you see, so I didn't have the old character ruined by it. I just thought, yeah, this is a really cool
Oh,
platformer.
Sands of Time. was a
He basically
revelation.
became
Yeah,
Shadow
just-
the Hedgehog, but I was too young to
Yeah,
care. So.
exactly. And then the 2008 reboot, I think, was absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, it was really well done. I think it was a bit simple gameplay wise. Like I don't think the aesthetics were as like clean and clear as Sands of Time, but I thought it was well done enough.
What was the third one in that series? The Two Thrones or something?
The Two Thrones was just forgettable. It tried.
I played the
what it
first
tried
level,
to do,
and there was some like on rails chariot section, and I was just like, "This doesn't
Yeah, it
feel
was
good at
bad.
all."
It tried
You
to
know,
like,
I
reconcile Sands of Time and Warrior Within, and what it really should have done is just went, "Oh, hey, Warrior Within was fucking shit." So how? about
Well,
we
it
just
was
forget
quite
that
clever
happened?
the way they actually had, like, they kind of referenced that in the way his character would split into the dark and the light character.
Yeah, but the problem is it wasn't worth referencing.
I was upset when I did my Miracle of Sound song about that series. I thought I had a rather clever little reference in there because there was a line that was, I think it was, I went from white to black to grey, and something about losing his way, and I thought that was really clever, but nobody liked that song, and I was upset.
Which one is that?
I really liked it. It's called Back in Time, and I really liked it, but people just didn't really seem to latch onto it at all.
I think
Yeah.
probably by the time you got to that, Assassin's Creed was killing it. Like just murdering
Yeah,
the
maybe.
series. The funny thing,
Yeah.
Assassin's Creed was actually supposed to be a Prince of Persia game, and instead it just came out and like murdered the series in its sleep.
Yeah.
You know, the fourth one actually was not too bad. It had some really cool, challenging platforming in it.
Do you mean the reboot?
It also
what
had some
was
pretty
it called?
bad ideas too. The combat was.
Forgotten Sands, wasn't it?
Oh
I-
no! Forgotten Sands was awful, dude.
Nah, I liked
It
Forgotten
wasn't,
Sands.
man.
I thought there was some really
that had some amazingly cool platforming, especially towards
Yeah.
the end.
yeah towards the end when you're like
Really
you're freezing
challenging.
water and to create like
Yeah, but it's hideous. It's
Yeah,
like
where you'd have
Landis
to.
looking
Where,
game.
Okay.
actually,
And we are
in,
talking about
in
our
a complete
analogy.
role reversal here, we're talking about the mechanics.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah,
On
like there were
topic,
these
boys.
amazing sections at the end where you'd have to freeze a waterfall, jump off it through another layer of water, and freeze just at the right moment
Yeah.
to land on the other layer. Really clever
So satisfying to pull off. As
and bloody hard.
Yeah.
Well, actually, Warrior Within and Two Thrones were fucking ridiculously hard at points as well. First one was pretty easy.
Yeah, I remember being hooked on in a similar Mortal Kombat way in Warrior. Then the first time I did that like attack where you just like jump over someone, you just slice them in half or whatever. I was just like, yeah, this is the only move I
Yeah.
can use for the
Oh,
entire
yeah.
game.
Very
Yeah.
cool. Very cool
What-
feeling with that move.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
The only one that
platformer
works
seems
anyway,
to have
because the
died a
combos didn't work.
death This
Yeah,
year.
it's a pity, isn't it? The linear style platformers don't seem to really
like the
come
only
along
people
anymore.
doing them are fucking Nintendo,
Yeah.
And
and that's only if you
'Cause-
can. Yeah, and indies obviously, but they're not doing.
Because
3D
Tomb Raider
platformers.
has moved away from that now as well, kind of.
yeah, they're definitely
Ra-
shitty.
Tomb Raider
Uncharted
is
does
fucking
it, but
Uncharted.
just-
Uncharted just like again sank the fucking
Uncharted-
genre.
Yeah.
Uncharted, you're just barely interacting with the game at all. That's kind of always been my problem with that series.
Yeah.
And it's so fucking good at what it does. It really is. But, you know, after you've played the Prince of Persia trilogy, I think it's not as satisfying to play something like Uncharted.
Yeah, I agree.
Another game that I'm gonna praise stylistically that was kind of forgotten in Xbox is Lost Planet. I absolutely love the feel of the character as you're trudging through the snow. It felt real-ish, or it felt, I don't know. It was like you're a boulder and you're just kind of forcing your way through, and like you kind of get to like nice areas that are, you know, very very cool and big, and I thought that game looked really nice.
That's the one Capcom
Otherwise-
franchise I've never really given any sort of try.
Well, the second one's garbage.
Well,
It's
the
not a
second
franchise
one's
worth
it's
anything.
supposed to be a co-op, like a 4-player co-op thing, and no one played it in co-op.
So
I played
bad.
the demo of it, and I was just kind of...
Did you play it in co-op?
No.
That's my fucking point. Like, it's not designed for single player. If you're playing single player, the bosses take like hours to kill.
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
kind of a Monster Hunter kind of thing, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Tried
it's
to-
unfortunate when series do that. Like Dead Space 3, like if you're playing solo, you're getting it wrong.
Dead Space 3 was just such a letdown in so many ways.
It was.
The
We
game
had some
though
fun
is
with it.
nice
Just-
aesthetically.
I don't know, I think it just did nothing for me really. It was just an all-right action shooter.
It was a solid 7, I think, where 1 and 2 were like easy 9s.
Tens. 1 and 2 were
2 was
fucking
maybe
10s.
10. Yeah.
There are no
Dead
10s.
Space 2.
You
There
will
are only
not. You will not
9.5s.
say it was not a 10.
Yeah. Dead Space 2
I
actually
don't know,
my
one-
favorite game from last gen, I think, just unequivocally.
One
I
is
don't think I
an
can
easy
actually
10
pick my
from
favorite
me.
game from last gen. I suppose it's Dark Souls.
Mm.
I don't know.
Last gen was great. There was really good stuff.
That's a controversial statement.
Like,
This generation that lasted
Maybe
10
to
years,
Grey.
there were some pretty good games.
Of all the ones out there, there were some that were alright.
Yeah.
the last
I don't
couple
know.
of years have been underwhelming though.
They've been pretty
Yeah.
rough, yeah.
The biggest problem I had with last gen was a lot of the big shining stars were just watered down versions of games from the previous gen. Like, oh my god, BioShock is so amazing. It's kind of like System Shock 2, only not anywhere near as good. I see that's a controversial statement that you all agree with.
Well, no, I just never played System Shock, so I wouldn't know.
Absolutely astounding, dude. Just really, really good game. And like, the same went for like Human Revolution, which is okay if you're not comparing it to Deus Ex.
Yeah, and again, depending on what you look for in your games, because the original Deus Ex now, I mean, it looks very dated.
Yeah, it does.
No, yeah, it's visually, it's nowhere near, of course. It's 10 years old. But
And we're talking
Everything
about aesthetics here.
I'm just talking about in general. Like, everything Human Revolution does, Deus Ex did better.
Well, yeah, the multiple approaches were done much better in the original, weren't they?
Yes. And the narrative was far more interesting and far bigger. Like, the entire story of Human Revolution really only compares to, like, the first two acts of Deus Ex. Where it opened up even further and there was like conspiracies inside of conspiracies and stuff, whereas Human Revolution was quite surface level in that respect.
The Illuminarities, Dishonored had a very cool aesthetic.
I was actually going to say Arcane Studios in general, and actually just to say the fucking French in general make really gorgeous fucking games.
There are some amazing French artists out there that don't really get a ton of love in like the English-speaking communities.
Particularly the comics.
Yeah,
I think,
they have so many good comic artists. It's
Like,
Dishonored-
they're ahead of the Japanese in terms of unique aesthetics in comics.
yeah, definitely.
Oh wow, there's the same people made BioShock 2 that made Dishonored. I didn't know that.
Arcane, I think.
Oh,
Dishonored,
yeah.
you'll probably agree with me on this, Gav. It felt very, like, the city design in it felt like Ireland, like, to me. Like, they really reminded me of, like, Dublin and Galway
BioShock 2?
specifically. No, Dishonored.
Dishonored.
Oh yeah, big time, yeah.
Yeah.
It was
just
like
the-
it was like if Half-Life 2 happened in Dublin.
Yeah, yeah. Like the cobbles and the...
'Cause it's
the Victoria-
full of
like the
starving,
Georgian
diseased peasants.
Is that that very Georgian British buildings and
Yeah,
stuff?
yeah.
Yeah, the colonial buildings.
I love the Half-Life 2 influence in the sci-fi.
Well, one of the,
sci-fi buildings.
One of the main designers in Half-Life 2 worked on Dishonored,
Yeah,
didn't he?
actually worked on the
Yeah, yeah. I remember being really excited for
What
it.
are
and then
they
it came
making
out and it was
next?
just, like, not very good.
Dishonored.
Yeah, I really
It
did
was-
not enjoy it.
It was a very
Really?
interesting system let down by a really bad meta system.
Yeah, like if they had just let me fucking kill people without punishing me for it.
Have you seen those gameplay videos where the guy just
And-
goes
and
out
if
and
they'd-
kills people in like really unique
Yeah.
ways?
Yeah,
And
Amazing.
You're like, holy fucking shit, this game could have been so much if it hadn't went, oh, hey, you want the best ending? Well, enjoy using 2 skills to defeat every enemy in the game.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, dude,
And
I
enjoy
enjoy
never,
the skill so
never
much, though.
using your right hand
Yeah.
ever.
Well, I was using
That
mine.
was such an unbelievable design flaw that if you went stealth, you completely have a useless trigger on your controller.
Well, for
I
example,
cannot believe how that passed playtesting.
in Dishonored, you can catch bullets out of the air, load them into your own gun, and shoot people with them.
you're not
and
allowed.
You'll
Yeah.
never fucking do that if you want the good ending. And actually, the whole moral system was fucked because sometimes the good actions were like worse than killing people.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not going to kill
Yeah.
these dudes. I'm going to fucking cut their tongues out and ship them off to a slave camp.
Yeah.
I'm not going to
Yeah.
kill this woman.
Or-
I'm going to put her in some fucking rape dungeon with this creepy fucking dude I've just met.
Oh man, that was so disgusting. I was like, no, I would really rather kill her.
Yeah, and I felt really awful after that. And the way the morality system builds into the story doesn't make any fucking sense.
Yeah.
It doesn't
no,
have any
also-
effect on your character. It has effects on what other characters do.
Yeah. Well, the creeper one at least made sense. That the more people you kill, the more rats there are in the city, and therefore more plague. That at least
Yeah.
made some
Yeah.
sense with the narrative.
And then again, binary
uh,
moral systems are fucking arse anyway, and people should stop doing them.
Oh yeah, they're
Yeah.
really really bad. Divinity
Absolutely.
There are
actually
just
had a
multiple
really
terrible.
endings. I don't know. I didn't think it's just 2.
There are technically 3 endings, depending on, well, kind of. You can save the girl or not save the girl, and blah 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 blah.
Yeah, but then there's also like issues with if you kill all the guards, then there's like a lack of any structure to the society. So society just kind of breaks down.
It actually reflects the princess or whatever her fucking name is. Kind of takes what you did to heart. So if you kill a lot of people, she becomes an evil tyrant and gets murdered. If you
Yeah.
don't, she becomes fucking Princess Happy
Peach.
Pants, and it turns into the fucking Mushroom Kingdom.
Yeah. Well, I think Divinity has a really interesting moral system in that, depending on how much you disagree with your partner or what actions you take, you get boosts to certain stats like egotistical or altruistic or
Yeah,
compassionate.
I
or
actually
whatever.
really like that.
Yeah.
I was playing that with Corey, and
Dude.
he's just a douchebag. So whenever someone tells us to do something, Corey's like, no. And if
I
he
don't
wins,
love
like,
this at all.
if he wins the role, oh, you remember the guards? It's like, hey, the guards are like, oh, hey, you should probably be careful. And Corey's just like, fuck you.
Yeah.
Oh,
So we have to kill
Maybe.
them, and then we become evil.
well, you make decisions. Life is just as it is. Do what you can.
And that's actually really interesting compared to like just the entire party.
They
sharing
think
the
they don't
same-
be like it is, but it do.
But it'd be.
Actual quote from Corey. We kind of got on off topic, didn't we?
We did.
Aesthetics. All right. What do we think makes good aesthetics? And is it just good aesthetics makes good aesthetics? Can we
Good
pinpoint
cohesive-
things?
objectives, move on.
Can we
cohesive,
solve?
interesting
Can we
design.
solve video games, guys? That's
Well,
what
I think a lot of the best games aesthetics have some obviously uniformity about them, and things just fit together nicely and look right together and have color schemes that complement each other and
Yeah.
cover up their blemishes in clever ways.
Theming.
Like,
I think
Silent Hill
theming
2 is
so
a really good example of that, I think, and using
yeah.
technical limitations to not only like make the game look better, but actually like the technical limitations shaped how the game looked. Like because like the PS2 had this weird thing with transparent textures. Like I think it was either really good or really bad at them. It was obviously really good at them because the fog is a transparent texture, but that's why the fog in the PS2 version looks so much better than like the rest of them. And just like everything looks so fucking grimy, like like because you could barely make out the textures, you could see like but you could even see like the road was just like cracked up and rusted and everything. That and the music in that game was
Yeah, the entire color of the game was that rust. It's like a mix of rust and dried blood.
yeah
That red,
reddish
brown, ugly. Yeah, very cool.
Also, like Akira Yamaoka is just
Well,
one of the fucking best soundtrack composers there is. Like just everything, all the music in 1, 2, and 3. I haven't played 4. They just fit everything so well. Especially if you get like the
I must play 3 actually. Is 3 really good?
3 is it's kind of like the inverse of Silent Hill 2. Like I would say Silent Hill 2 is like an 8 in story and a 2 in horror, whereas 3 is an 8 in horror and a 2 in story. Like the story is still good and it's
Okay.
more interesting. Or well, it's it's still interesting, but the horror is just like so fucking scarier and more disturbing than 2.
Oh wow.
It's just way over the top.
Wow, because I've never played a more disturbing game than Silent Hill 2.
It's a differently disturbing game. Like it doesn't really do the whole like deep look into the horrors of the male psyche thing that Silent Hill 2 does. It's a more general
Yeah.
horror game.
Okay.
But some of the shit in it is just like like the on the subject of the music, like the In Water ending, which is I guess the canon ending. It's not the one I got. I got like the.
Are we probably shouldn't spoil endings
We probably shouldn't.
because people would get pissed
Oh,
off.
yeah,
like
that's
the
just
Dishonored
guys,
ending
just
that we
keep going
didn't
without me.
spoil.
Like I don't think saying the name of the.
We bring up Silent Hill and he has to leave.
Yeah.
He's leaving in shame when we bring up Silent Hill.
I don't think naming the endings is going to spoil them, but there is a bad end or a sad end. None of them are exactly happy. Like there's a better ending. I got the better ending, and it plays the theme of Laura, which is like the main theme of the game, I guess, at the end. But the sad ending plays like Promise, which is like the most depressing fucking song. It's the song they play at the start of the game, and like if I had gotten that after like hearing what happens at the end of the game and everything, I would have just like burst into tears. Like it's so fucking sad. It's man, I love that game.
Is Silent Hill 3 out on anything but the PS2?
There's the Silent Hill HD collection, but like that they absolutely butchered the games in that. So
Ruined us. Yeah.
So I don't recommend playing that. You should emulate it.
Damn.
It's definitely worth playing.
Yeah, PC version would be nice.
Yeah, hope so. Well, I mean, like with a certain game developed by Hideo Kojima coming to Steam and him co-developing Silent Hills, which I think has a pretty good chance of coming to PC, we might get a re-release of them at some point.
We'll get the HD re-release just straight ported over.
Probably.
Speaking of HD remakes,
You know what this... Oh yeah, go on.
I was gonna say, Shadow of Colossus, The Colossus, Shadows of Colossi, whatever it's called. That game,
The Colossus.
The Colossus. It looks pretty. I thought the design of that game was really good. I didn't play the HD remake, so I don't know how those turned out.
I didn't
Really
play
solid.
There's a HD remake of that game?
HD,
I think
HD
ports.
re-release collection
Remaster.
thing.
Oh.
Did I
On
say your
what?
guys' is HD or did I say HD? Because I don't want to be British like you guys.
PlayStation, I guess.
PS3.
Yeah.
Contains Ico and
Actually,
Shadows, and I think Ico is the stronger game personally.
I was just going to say it. I preferred Ico myself.
I never
haven't
played that one.
Or Eco, I think, is the actual
is it Eco?
correct pronunciation.
That is
I
a
think
fucking
so, yeah.
gorgeous game.
It'd be
But speaking
Absolutely.
of HD remasters, the problem I have with them is they're inevitably made by people who think like higher definition, more detail is better, and it actually very rarely is.
Sometimes, because it can sometimes look poorly done. Like, it can
Yeah.
look like a game that isn't quite up to modern standards.
It's like, oh, what happens
Well, yeah,
if I just-
a shitty texture looks even shittier when you can see it better.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not a professional example, but have any of you played the Half-Life 2 cinematic mod?
No.
I haven't.
No, but I
Which-
saw your...
Which
I
proposes
saw
to
your
take Half-Life
screenshot.
2 and make it look like a modern game, and it looks like fucking shite.
Yeah. The cracks in Half-Life 2 are definitely starting to show. Like, it is 10 years old, which is understandable. But like if you don't look too much at it, like if you just don't stop and look at something in particular, like it still looks amazing. But if you start like analyzing the facial models and everything just starts to look a little.
I
a
played it
little
about
old.
6 months ago, and I'm still very impressed by it. I mean, it's old. It is an old game, but it's still visually impressive. Because the
definitely.
art design is so strong.
Yeah.
It doesn't go for ultra hyper realism though, and I think that's it. Just keeps it under that line of uncanny valley that dates it too much.
Yes, precisely.
You know, it's realistic to a point, and it's authentic to a point, but they don't go for hyper realism, which means it's dated more generously, I think, or more
Well, it's
kindly
like
rather.
Team Fortress 2 is dated really well as well
Yeah.
because it's 8 years old at this point and it still looks fine because they went for ridiculous cartoon overblown shit.
Oh, but that's the problem with Valve games now, especially Dota. The hats, dude. The hats are ruining the visual design.
I
Yeah.
agree.
Well, Valve are now making a VR headset. So
I mean,
I'm glad
it's-
they're now physically making hats to sell to people.
Yeah.
Fancy technical hats, but hats regardless.
Valve hats. It's a proper Valve hat.
The thing about cartoonish design is that all you need to update it is better anti-aliasing and a higher resolution.
Yeah.
Like you can, look at Nintendo. You can take Wind Waker, you can make it a high resolution, and you can re-release it. It's like a modern game, and it still looks fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Same goes for TF2.
Pretty much.
Never really got into TF2. Tried it once or twice, but just
I've
don't know.
played
Couldn't
about
really get into it.
400 hours. It was the game I just sort of played when I had nothing else to do.
Yeah.
But I have friends who played it for like 10 times that amount, and they're like, yeah, I feel the exact same way. And I'm like, how? What happened? Where did those hours go?
It was my go-to until Dota 2.
I'd much rather play it than Dota. But,
Dota 2 is like ruined your life, hasn't it?
It's made it a lot more difficult.
Dota 2 ruined my life. I'm 31 years old.
Though actually, I don't think games can do that unless you have like full-on mental issues. Like,
Yeah.
the reason I was playing Dota 2 rather than working is because I didn't want to work. And once I got over that and I started wanting to work again, I've played very little Dota since then.
I think Metal
Yeah.
Gear Solid is ruining Gav's life via me.
Just how much it's brought up.
No man, fucking Alien Isolation is ruining my life. I was so stressed when I stopped playing that last night.
Yeah, I just don't think I'd enjoy it. I don't like horror games. I don't like being scared. I don't like
I think
being
it's one
chased.
of the best survival horrors in years.
That's fine.
It's the scariest horror game I've played, I would say. Definitely. It's definitely the most tense and stressful game I've ever played. By a huge margin. It's but again, that kind of comes from a little bit of randomness and cheapness on the game's behalf. So I don't know whether it's a good thing or not. Because the alien can literally just drop out of a vent right behind you and fucking stab you in the back, and you won't even know it's there. And it's like,
Actually, there is a slight notification that he's there. If you look very carefully, there's saliva dripping from the vent.
Okay.
yeah.
Very, very carefully.
Honestly, it's a very fair game in that regard. Once the alien is like in the area, he can't like teleport around or anything. He moves through the vents like you do,
Yeah.
which I think is very interesting because it means sound actually matters. Like a big problem with horror games with sound design is they play spooky shit at you that has no real effect on the game.
You see, again, though, there's two problems I have with Isolation as well, and it's a problem that is first-person stealth in general. It kind of can be very frustrating to deal with, and because you can't see what you're doing and where it is, and you can hear it walking, and you're not sure if you pop your head out, it's going to be right there. And then there's the whole thing that, like, there'd be sometimes the alien's looking right at you, and because it's beyond an arbitrary distance, it can't see you, even though you can see it. And I've always found that really kind of silly in stealth games, because then you don't know how close is it going to get before it sees me, and then that again becomes a whole other game of stress.
Well, the idea is that,
and then when you do,
aren't they, the alien? So I mean, it makes sense for an alien because they can't.
Are they?
See. Yes, they don't. They don't have eyes.
No, they do have eyes.
No, they don't.
They don't.
They do, man. The eyes are under their under a canopy.
Really? I've never once seen a picture of Xenomorph size.
Look up Xenomorph skull. Our entire audience is now
Everyone
also
goes silent. Okay, this is
googling the
where you play
Xenomorph
at home,
skull.
guys. Everyone also look up a Xenomorph skull.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have eyes. They're just underneath the they're like, you know, blacked out car window
Guy
kind
can
of
conceive
effect.
the
Like,
alien as being vaguely human, but a human in full armor, protected from all outside forces. He mandated that the creature have no eyes because he felt that it made them much more frightening.
Oh, okay.
But does that mean it can't see? Maybe
I
it
assume
sees through other
it sees
things.
by hearing, or it sees by being fucking horrifying.
Does it have sonar in that giant dome head?
I think
I always
That's
thought
sonar.
it just like it sensed shit. It didn't like actually see shit.
It just sensed stuff through one of the senses, like sight.
Not sight, like body heat and shit. There is some
I
debate
just-
as to whether or
I
not
just
they
googled
have eyes.
I just googled are they blind, and the first thing that came up was are Xenomorphs real?
Actually, you know what really bugs me about the colonial marines hate?
anal colon marines.
You know when there's a section where there are actually full-on blind aliens, like the white ones, that you have to slowly make your way around, and they can only see you if you move. And there's that screenshot of the alien like walking up to someone and then walking away.
I fucking love that one.
And everyone's like, "Oh, look how fucking bad this game is!" But it's actually supposed to be like that. It is blind.
But not
God, that
not
animation was
eyesight.
funny.
Blind in its other senses that you're talking about.
Well,
But have you googled Xenomorph skull? Because like if all the images that are there, they have eyes.
Well, do we ever actually? You never actually see a xenomorph skull in the main series. You see them in
A Predator, yeah.
Predator, which isn't technically
Canon.
like. I mean, I don't even think they're supposed to have bones. They're all like chitin and shit.
Yeah.
It's such a fucking ingenious creature design, isn't it? It's just so clever.
Oh yeah, Geiger was a fucking genius.
He was. You've
They're so
seen
fucking
his,
terrifying.
Triptychon album covers, haven't you, Gav?
Yeah, they're great.
There's so many penises.
Oh yeah, dicks everywhere. But then that's what the alien is. It's a big
It's a
fucking
big-
dick
big
helmet.
It's a
Like
big dick, which matches what the movie's about, which is it's about rape and
Yeah.
pregnancy
and the
and shit.
face huggers are, vaginas with dicks.
Literally, yeah.
Vaginas with dicks sticking out of them.
This is
Speaking-
turning into the speech.
This
from
is
Team
getting a bit
America.
weird, actually.
Yeah.
We should probably
So I
start
think
wrapping
with
this
that,
up.
we've kind of reached the end of the podcast. I think.
Yeah, just a little.
Yeah.
'Cause it's kind of descended into Philistines ripping down art by a talented artist because they can't handle
No,
this
it's-
raw sexuality.
It's descended into us having a casual chat, completely forgetting that other people have to listen to this.
Yeah,
That's what it's
That's
descended
exactly
into.
what it is. We should probably just get together and talk for 2 hours before we start the fucking podcast.
Well, the thing is, when we do that, we always cover all the fucking topics in depth and then just mention them briefly in the podcast.
That's true. I made more good points to Gray in the 10 minutes we were talking before the podcast than I did on the podcast.
Gabe and I were talking about
Persona.
how video games imitate movies, and that shows in orchestral soundtracks and stuff.
Yeah.
And we cover that quite deeply before the podcast. Then the podcast, like Gabe mentions it once in like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
So yeah,
can
thank
talk
you
about
very
it
much
next
for
week.
watching, guys. We will see
Listening.
you. You will hear us next week. Bye bye.
What the topic will be.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Sorry.
Ah.
Apologies in advance.